One day, my husband disappeared without a trace. It was only several days later that I found out he had run off with my sister. 12 years have passed since then. After a long silence, my husband contacted me with an audacious demand. "I'm coming home with my new wife. You are in the way. Leave my parents' house." Apparently, he doesn't want to see me, who is still living with his parents. 12 years after eloping, with the dust settled, he probably planned to bring my sister home as his new wife. But they still don't know. They don't know how much the feeling of the entire family, including me, have changed in these 12 years. My name is Sophia. I'm 27 years old. I majored in design in college, and after graduation, I joined a web production company. While leading an ordinary working life, I met my husband, John, when I was 25. He worked in sales at the company, and due to the nature of his job, he was very friendly. Attracted by his approachable demeanor, we dated for a year and got married last year. Upon registering our marriage, we started living with his parents, and I quit the web production company to work as a freelance web designer. I chose to work from home, supporting my husband's life while doing house chores. At first, there were hardly any jobs and the income was unstable. However, lately, I have been receiving projects from various places and earning a sufficient income. I work at my own pace and prioritize my family first. In the morning and evening, I eat with my husband and in-laws, and before going to bed, I enjoy some quality time with my husband. I was very satisfied with my current life. However, at some point, my once kind husband began to change little by little. The trigger was 2 months ago, when my income surpassed my previous salary. I was so happy to reach my target that I was restless all day. I couldn't wait to tell my husband. I was sure he would be happy too. That's what I believed. I rushed to the entrance as soon as my husband came home and told him the good news with a beaming face. "John, guess what? My income last month exceeded my old company's salary." "Really? That can be true. Your company paid pretty well, right?" "Yes, but surpassing that was always my goal, and my wish finally came true."
"Oh, is that so?"
Is that all?"
"What? Would you prefer if I said, 'Well, congratulations'?"
My husband was unusually sullen and sarcastic. I couldn't understand why he was so upset, so I asked him directly. "Hey, John, are you angry? I thought you'd be happy for me."
"Huh? Why would I be happy? It's not like my salary has increased."
"Well, that's true, but isn't a wife's joy also a husband's joy?"
"What's that supposed to mean? I'm not one of those cheerful guys. Don't lump me in with them."
"John?" From that day on, his attitude became more and more indifferent day by day. Our everyday conversation diminished, and it was always from me who greet good morning and good night. Even though we've only been married for a year, our marriage is far from being a happy one. His parents, who we live with, began to notice our relationship, but out of consideration, they said nothing. Even after 2 months, my relationship with my husband remains unchanged. Although we eat our meals at the same time, there's hardly any conversation. He changes the TV channel I'm watching without a word, and eats the food I bought without permission. If I object, his response is always amplified, so I've maintained my silence. One day, midst those days, mother-in-law started the conversation with an anxious look on her face as I was cleaning the house. "Sophia, are you okay?" "Huh? What do you mean by okay?" "Oh, well, you know, when you first got married, you used to go out with my son a lot. But lately, there's none of that, right? Not only that, but it seems like there's hardly any conversation either." "Well, that's true. It's strange, isn't it? We've only been married for a year." I forced a smile, not wanting to worry my mother-in-law. However, it seemed she saw right through me. My mother-in-law looked straight at me with a serious expression. "If you don't want to talk about it, I won't force you. But I'm worried about you. Lately, it seems like you're just putting on a brave face." "Putting on a brave face? I'm not doing anything like that." "Your father-in-law has noticed too. Both of us are worried that you are pushing yourself too hard." "Mother-in-law." At the end of the day, I may be the one to blame for upsetting my husband over the issue of income. But on the other hand, I felt a bit lonely that he couldn't rejoice in my success. The fact that my in-laws noticed my current struggle and showed concern made me so happy I almost cried. I decided to tell my mother-in-law the whole story. After hearing everything, my mother-in-law opened her mouth apologetically while rubbing my back. "I didn't know such a thing happened. I'm sorry. He's not good as a man if he can't honestly praise someone he loves for hard work." "It's my fault," I assumed, without asking, that John would be happy about my success. "It's nothing for you to worry about, Sophia. But if we interfere, things might get more complicated." "Complicated? I didn't mean to." "That's why I think you two should have a proper discussion about this. Do you think you can do it?" "Yes, I'll be fine. Thank you for listening, mother-in-law." My mother-in-law gave me a warm smile and said it's okay, as she stroked my head. My in-laws who treat me just like their own daughter. They were my salvation from the bottom of my heart. Taking my mother-in-law's advice, I decided to have a proper talk with my husband. That night, after my in-laws had gone to bed, I waited for him to come home. But no matter how many hours passed, there was no sign of him coming home. Normally, he would be home by 10 p.m. at the latest, but it was already past 11 p.m. this day. Why is he so late? There is no reply to my message either. Could something have happened? Worried, I called him several times, but there was no response, only the sound of the phone ringing. Worrying and waiting for 1 hour, it was past midnight when he finally came home. "Welcome home." Despite my greeting, my husband only heaved a big sigh and had a displeased look on his face. "What? Why are you still up at this hour?" "Why, I was thinking of having a proper talk with you, John." "Talk? About what?" "Ever since I brought up the topic of my salary, We've been like this, haven't we? I didn't think much of it then, but I might have hurt your pride, John. At that moment, a chill ran down my spine. That's because my husband was glaring at me with a cold expression. I was so terrified that I couldn't find my voice. As if scorning my fear, he calmly threw out his word. There is nothing I want to discuss with you now. Waiting up for me to come home, it's just creepy. Creepy? I just want to build a better relationship with you, John, as a couple. That's what's tiring. I'm seriously thinking I might have chosen the wrong person to marry. Don't say that. Enough already. I'm tired from working overtime. Don't talk to me so casually when all you do is laze around at home. He brushed past me and headed upstairs to his room. Somehow, I couldn't move from the spot until the sound of him going up the stairs faded away. Why would he say such a thing? All I want is a normal married life. Even though my mother-in-law encouraged me to do it, nothing is resolved. Seeing his attitude, I don't have the courage to propose another talk to my husband. I felt as if everything about me was being denied, and it hurt. Even after 2 months, there was no conversation with my husband, and the days just passed uneventfully. Then, one day, my husband disappeared. Looking around his room, I suddenly felt something was off. Huh? Was John's room always this clean? My husband is not exactly known for his tidiness, but his room was unusually neat. There were hardly any clothes in the closet, and his suitcase was missing. That's when I finally realized he had left the house. I hurried to try to contact my in-laws, but I couldn't reach them. Maybe they were turning off their phone incidentally. Just as I was panicking, not knowing what to do, I got a call from my younger sister, Isabella. Ah, big sis, it's been a while. Isabella? Sorry, I can't talk right now. Your husband, he is not there, is he? What? How? Why would you know that? Forebodings are things that come true. Eventually, she told me an unbelievable fact. Why? Because I'm with your husband right now. What? What are you talking about? At first, it really was a coincidence. I randomly met your husband at the bar. We had a drink together. And I heard that things were not going well between you two. Isabella, don't tell me. I'm dating your husband. We are going far away to get married, so don't get in our way. Going far away? Stop joking around. Bring John back right now. Sorry, but I can't. Actually, I've been interested in your husband for a while now. He's tall and handsome, so sorry. I'm taking your husband. She hung up the phone abruptly. No matter how many times I called back, my sister wouldn't answer. Instead, she sent me a bunch of photos. There were about a few dozen pictures. Some of them were next to each other and others on dates. Either way, it was not something I could bear to look at. A few days later, I received the divorce paper from my husband. When I called his company, they told me he had already resigned. At this point, it's not a problem I can solve by myself. I decided to talk my parents and in-laws about the situation and ask for their advice. It seems that John and Isabella have eloped. He quit his job without telling me. He apparently wants to divorce me. Once I finished telling the story, everyone present was lost for words. In the midst of this, my father-in-law was the one who finally spoke. Sophia, I'm deeply sorry about my foolish son. I don't expect you to forgive him, and you don't have to. Father-in-law, I don't know how to say this, but I can't forgive Isabella either. To me, you are like a daughter, Sophia. I can't forgive them for hurting my precious daughter. At those words from my father-in-law, both my mother-in-law and my own parents nodded in agreement. It was exactly at that moment all of us changed our opinion of them by 100 degrees. Apparently, my in-laws had been considering moving due to the aging of their house. We don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. With this incident, they decided to move and kept it secret to their son. On the other hand, my parents decided to cut ties with my sister. Even if she were to come back, they would treat her as a stranger and never allow her in the house again. Someone without morals who would steal her sister's husband is no longer our daughter. That was the opinion of both my father and mother. I decided to take this opportunity to move back to my parents' house. I decided to demand alimony from my husband and sister on condition of submitting the divorce paper. Then, I'll pay that much if I can get the divorce. Along with his response, several million in alimony was swiftly transferred into my account. With that exchange, I completely cut off my ties with my husband Isabella. It's been 12 years since the divorce, and a lot has happened since then. My in-laws bought an apartment, demolished their house, and sold the land. As a web designer, I've gained a lot of recognition, and my annual income is incomparable to what it used to be. Thanks to that, I've been able to go on regular trips with my parents and live a fulfilling life. One day, while I was busy with work, my smartphone rang. Thinking it was a work-related call, I answered without checking the screen. But that phone call brought back unpleasant memories. It's been a while, Sophia. How have you been? John? I'm glad you still remember your ex-husband's voice. His tone was as condescending as ever. What do you want? It's been 12 years since we divorced, and you are contacting me now? When I told him off, he let out an unpleasant chuckle. Well, you see, you're in the way, so could you leave the house within 10 minutes? Huh? What are you talking about? We're strapped for cash, so we're on our way over there. I'm bringing my wife home, so you need to leave my parents' house. It seems he still assumes that I'm living with his parents. After 12 years, he seems to believe that heat has died down and they will be accepted. In the background, yeah, get out! I can hear my sister agreeing with him. These guys really don't know anything. Do they think they will be forgiven just because 12 years have passed? The word is not the forgiving. I might as well show them hell. I took a deep breath, gathered my resolve, and told them, "Feel free to come back. I am no longer at your parents' house."
Really? Did you get kicked out by my dad or something?
Are you an idiot? Your parents' house no longer exists in this world.
Huh? What are you? John's voice is shaky and sounds anxious.
It seems like they have just arrived at where his parents' house used to be.
And John says, "What the hell is this?"
He cried out in anguish. To him, I continued mercilessly. "Right after you two eloped, we decided to cut ties with you. Your parents moved away a long time ago, and my parents disowned the women there with you. In other words, there is no place for you two to return to."
That's a joke, right? That can be.
Believe it or not, it's up to you. Of course, neither your parents nor my parents consider you family anymore. There is no worth being family with scum who trample over people's feelings.
That's terrible. We're family, aren't we?
Who trampled over the feeling of that family? Don't ever contact me again. I'm not going to let you interfere in my life anymore. I hung up the phone as I finished speaking and blocked their contact. This time, I've finally severed the last ties. After that, they couldn't find their in-laws and they visited my parents' house while I was out. But my parents had already disowned my sister. To my sobbing sister, "Who are you?" They repeatedly kept asking her this and drove her away from the gate. Then the two of them knelt down in front of the entrance. "Please, Dad, Mom, forgive us. We have nowhere else to go." Upon hearing my sister's plea, John also joined in.
"I beg you to. Our family home is gone. We have nowhere to go back to." "Quiet. You are no longer family or anything else."
"That's right, Dad. Scatter salt at the entrance." "No, wait."
"Please, father-in-law, mother-in-law." "I have no reason to be called father-in-law by the likes of you. Get out." Because they were so persistent, my father scattered salt and my mother reported them for their nuisance behavior. Since then, they haven't seen them. The two of them seems to be jobless and homeless, and they were begging their friends to lend them money. However, their rumors have already spread, and there was not a single person who would lend them money. In any case, it's almost impossible for them to survive in their hometown. They have no choice but to struggle from scratch in an unfamiliar land. However, they brought it on themselves. Since they've sown their seeds, I'd like them to suffer as much as possible. Needless to say, neither my parents nor I will ever meet them again. Ideally, I hope they live with regret for the sins they have committed.